Everybody, thank you so much for coming back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Star Wars Resistance Season 2. Now, I've got to be completely honest with you guys, I actually thought I had already reviewed this season. I thought I did the first and second seasons together, and it turns out I had only reviewed the first season. When I was looking through my Star Wars playlist on my channel, I realized that I totally made a mistake. This season and this show in general has been over for quite a few months at this point, so I figured better late than never, but I totally meant to get this up a lot sooner. So here we go, Star Wars Resistance Season 2. I won't be talking too many spoilers as far as in this season or in the past season, but I will be talking about a few things to kind of set myself up for what this season is all about. So if you guys saw my review for the first season, you know that I was pretty open about the fact that this was easily my least favorite of the Star Wars canon shows. The Clone Wars, Rebels, and Mandalorian have done such a great job of being their own shows, telling their own story, having a mix of goofiness and silliness, not so much Mandalorian, but the Clone Wars and Rebels, and being a show that's good for families on an overall that kids can watch as well, but does not alienate the adult fans from some serious storytelling. That's one of my favorite things about the Clone Wars, is that a lot of the dialogue is very political, and they definitely give you an understanding of why the Clone Wars is happening and what's going on the political back end of things. And then in Rebels, what I really love about that show is beyond the shows being able to, you know, expand who these characters are, expand the movies and all that jazz, and be these fun shows that families, both kids and adults, can watch. What I love about something like Star Wars Rebels, that they really expand on the lore. They get deep into the Star Wars lore and the world building, and allow you to have this full new understanding of some Force abilities or Force characters or the Force in general and the mythology behind Star Wars. Star Wars Resistance, though, is just a cute, fun ride, is the best way I can put this show on an overall level. This review will be a review of the second season, but also my general thoughts on the show as an overall. And the reason I say that is because not only is this the second season of the Star Wars Resistance, but it's also the final season of Star Wars Resistance. They ended up keeping this show at only 2 seasons, which I found to be pretty shocking. I love the way Star Wars Rebels ended. You know, it definitely leaves things open-ended, and they're talking about a sequel series to Star Wars Rebels, or at least there's rumors of one. And what I love about Star Wars Rebels is that it ends after 4 seasons. It feels like a tight story with something that could still be told off of the ending of that story, and I think that they did a really good job of making it a very concise 4 seasons. Whereas with Star Wars Resistance, I was incredibly surprised to see that Star Wars Resistance was only going to have 2 seasons, especially with where they left us. So I talked about it in my review for the first season, but one of the things I loved the most about the first season was the moments that it intertwined with the events of The Force Awakens. If you guys did not already know, Star Wars Resistance takes place during the sequel trilogy, and I really love being able to see characters like Poe Dameron and Princess Leia, or in this case General Organa, appear in Star Wars Resistance and kind of give us these little tidbits of knowledge to kind of know where we are in the Force Awakens timeline. And at the very end of the first season, we have this epic moment where it ties in directly into the Force Awakens, and one of our main characters, or the main character, Kaz, is actually watching a hologram of that speech that General Hux gives in the Force Awakens, where then they use Starkiller Base to destroy a bunch of planets, and one of them is Hosnian Prime, which is where the New Republic's kind of base was, and Kaz's character, his parents are from that planet. That's the planet he's from. So we actually got to see this scene that we all know from The Force Awakens, where they used the exact same audio that General Hux had, his same voice, same actor, with Donald Gleason. And Kaz was there watching this that we already know from The Force Awakens as his planet gets destroyed. I love that. I love the way they were able to tie that in, and it felt like the final 2 episodes of the first season of Resistance was everything I wanted it to be. It was finally getting into this more serious and grounded take.
All remaining systems will bow to the First Order, and will remember this as the last day of the Republic. All remaining systems will bow to the First Order, and will remember this as the last day of the Republic.
CB-23. What system was that? causing the unemployment. No, that can't be. No! My parents! My home.
I love goofiness and silliness in Star Wars. I am not the kind of person that needs dark, very over-the-top, very adult storytelling in Star Wars at all times. I am totally okay with characters like Jar Jar and some of the sillier episodes that all of these shows are going to have. But I just think, without a doubt, you look at Star Wars Resistance, and it's easily the show out of all of them that is the more kid-friendly. It's family-friendly, it's for everybody, but it's definitely the one that is the most for kids. It's definitely very silly, it's definitely very cutesy, and that's kind of the approach they went with this show. And that's kind of my biggest issue with the show, is I feel like on an overall, the show doesn't have the grandest sense of stakes. Now, this show was definitely made with children in mind, but, you know, Dave Filoni is a big part of this show, and he knows, and these Star Wars creators know, that adults like myself, I'm in my late 20s, and people who are much older than me are gonna watch these shows. And I think that the biggest gripe I had with this show on an overall level is that there was moments of just pure beautiful storytelling. There were moments where the characters and the things that they were going through and the arcs that these characters had were very impactful, especially at the end of this season. But then they just don't really do much with it. I feel like where Star Wars Resistance Season 2 ended left me emotional and excited to see these characters continue on with a story, and they chose to end it. So if anything, I guess you could say it ends on a really high note, which is a good thing, but it also left me wanting so much more. I think my biggest issue with this series on an overall level is that the character Kaz, the main character of the show, he's easily the dumbest Star Wars protagonist we've ever had. He's got a lot of heart, he's got a lot of charm, he's a very, very good character in the sense that he's a good person, he has a lot of connection and love for people, and he's a good person, he's a good character. I can understand why they chose to make him a protagonist, but he kind of feels like a blend of a Star Wars character with a lot of heart and a lot of charm with a character from like Scooby-Doo. There's just so much about him that's just so goofy and over the top, and it kind of takes away from the fact that this is in the same universe as everything else going on. Whereas when you watch the Clone Wars and you watch Rebels, though it's animated and though there are some sillier, goofier elements, it's no more silly or no more goofy than what you would see in some of the Star Wars films. I think that those shows did a beautiful job of being an animated show that is only just that. It's animated, but it's still Star Wars. It's still 100% what Star Wars would feel like. And I think with Star Wars Resistance, it really has a lot of that, the bare bones of what's going on there, the connections to what's happening in the bigger universe and into the movies is great. And I love the idea of focusing a show on solely characters that don't have the Force, but there's not even a single Jedi that appears in the show, and I love that. This show is about the regular, everyday people. That I just feel like outside of a handful of episodes across 2 seasons with 20-something episodes, I feel like a lot of the episodes just felt like fun, silly Star Wars adventures. Now, don't get me wrong at all. I did like this show. I would say that on overall, my general opinion of the series is that it is a good series. I had a good time with it. I do enjoy it, and I do recommend it for Star Wars fans. Now, I think that if you're looking to dip your toes into animated Star Wars for the first time, the Clone Wars and Rebels will have you covered. And if you're interested in Resistance, go check it out. But as a Star Wars fan like myself, I'm always very, very much, especially when it's canon material, I will always push for people to watch it, even if I don't know if they're gonna love it, because I just feel like it's important to at least see it. Whereas in this case, I feel like because so many of the episodes were just these fun, silly rides with slight connections to the sequel trilogy, especially in the later part of the first season and somewhere in the middle part of the second season and the beginning of the second season, I just feel like they just missed an opportunity to make it something that felt like a necessary watch. This show doesn't feel like a necessary Star Wars watch, whereas I see The Mandalorian has kind of set itself up to be, I feel, required Star Wars watch. Luckily, you can watch that show without watching the other stuff and still follow along, but I can tell now with the introduction of the Darksaber at the end of the first season of Mandalorian and the characters that are going to show up in the second season that we already know have been confirmed that are coming from the Clone Wars and Rebels, we already know that it's kind of become a required watch kind of show. And I think with season 1 and season 2 of Star Wars Resistance, they just didn't do much for it to feel like required Star Wars watching. The animation takes a little bit to get used to, but I really enjoyed it on an overall level. I enjoyed all the stuff with all the pilots and everything. There was a lot of great action in the series as well. But again, it just felt like our main character was probably one of the dumbest characters that we've ever had in Star Wars as a protagonist. He's goofy, he's silly, and it just feels like too many of the problems that happen in the show or on individual episodes is thanks to him. There are so many times where he causes the issue, then the title card will pop up, and then the rest of the episode is him and the other close friends that he has in the show kind of helping him get out of this situation. There's even an episode in this series, and this is not a spoiler, but there's an episode in this season where Kaz actually uncovers, with a bunch of other characters, a Sith temple, which I thought was interesting. I was like, they're going to bring a Sith temple into this. Cool, maybe there's going to be some lore building, some world building here. And you know, the Sith temple is involved in the episode, but the episode could have been cut out for the most part. There really wasn't much to the episode outside of a few things that were really important, and the part of it being a Sith temple almost felt like a joke. While Kaz is in the Sith temple, he's literally causing issues, triggering booby traps, and it's all played for jokes so often. Again, this show is 100% for a younger audience, and I'm not the target demographic. But as a huge Star Wars fan who loves the kiddie, you know, silly stuff as well, I just felt like they missed an opportunity with some really cool elements in the show to have a greater sense of stakes. Like I mentioned, you have really great characters in this show. There's so many great characters that I thoroughly enjoyed. I did enjoy Kaz. I loved Niku. I loved Yeager. I loved Captain Doza. Captain Doza probably being one of the most interesting characters introduced in this show. I really did thoroughly enjoy all of the characters that were introduced in this show. I really enjoyed Captain Pyre, and I enjoyed seeing characters from the movies like Kylo Ren, General Organa, Poe Dameron, and characters like Captain Phasma appearing in this show. There was so much that the show did so right. I just feel like they missed an opportunity to give a really high stakes story, and when the stakes are high, those episodes are great. The show ended in such an emotional great way where I really was thoroughly connected to the characters. Finally, by the end of the second season, I felt like, wow, I really do care about these characters. I feel myself getting a little teary-eyed. My eyes got a little misty at the finale of season 2. But I just feel like they spent so much of season 2 not really getting to the meat and potatoes of what this series could be. So am I disappointed? Yeah, in a way, but I did thoroughly enjoy it, and it's, you know, a quick 2-season watch. I think if you were a Star Wars fan, I do highly recommend it. I think you should check it out as a Star Wars fan and get your own opinion. But I have heard from other Star Wars fans that are similar in my age group or older that have felt the same way. It's just, you know, I'm not going to go into this hating it. It looks cool, you know, the animation's fun, the characters are fun. It's a Star Wars fun ride for kids. I just feel like with it being connected to the sequel trilogy and us seeing some darker elements in there, especially Kaz seeing his, you know, his family being killed and his planet being destroyed at the very end of the first season, that made me really excited to see what they would do with season 2. And I think that season 2, though it's way better than season 1 in my opinion, I think it just missed the mark of giving us really high stakes. And then what's even worse, I think that breaks my heart even more, is by the end of season 2, I was finally in love with everything happening and these characters, and it ends it in such a great and very emotional, like, happy way for these characters, and the characters do go through an arc. I did feel for Kaz, and though I feel he's like a dumb idiot, he is a character that has a lot of heart and charm, and I really did feel for his character, and I understand where he's coming from and why he is likable, you know what I mean? And so I think what bummed me out more than anything was the fact that the show only got 2 seasons, and I think if we got one more season, just one more season to take these characters on an adventure based on how the events of this season ended, I would think it would have been a lot better. But that's just my opinion, guys. I would love to hear what you guys have to say, so leave those comments down below. Where does this rank for you in the other Star Wars shows? Did you love this show? Did you hate this show? Did you feel it was a little too kid-friendly? Which was your favorite character? Whatever you guys want to comment, leave those comments down below. Again, I really appreciate you all for watching as usual. Hit that like button down below if you enjoyed the video. Comment your thoughts. Subscribe if you've not already done so, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye!